The movie opens with a funeral in the village of Tripoli, where the crowd prays for the dead in a somber mood. During his speech, the clan leader named Murad declares that an unidentified man killed their sons, and now the dead cry out for justice. He vows never to rest until he finds the man who brought them such pain and swears to bring him down, ensuring his blood flows onto the very ground where their sons are buried. The scene then shifts to Los Angeles, at a car wash where we meet a man named Bryan who prefers cleaning his own car. Afterwards, he goes to his ex-wife Lenore to pick up their daughter Kim for a driving lesson, since she has failed the driving test twice. Lenore informs him that Kim is with her boyfriend, leaving Bryan shocked by the revelation. Seeing his reaction, Lenore invites him inside for a drink. While having a drink, Lenore reveals to Bryan that she is not doing well as she has separated from her new husband. She asks Bryan not to interfere with Kim and her boyfriend. Ignoring her request, Bryan tracks Kim to her boyfriend's place and tells her he came to take her for a driving test. He then admits that he installed a tracking device on her phone, which allowed him to find her. Soon after, Bryan asks Sam to run a background check on Kim's boyfriend. Meanwhile, in Italy, Officer Jean-Claude is kidnapped, interrogated, and tortured by Murad's right-hand man, who demands to know the whereabouts of Bryan Mills, the man they hold responsible for the death of their brothers. Back with Lenore, feeling depressed, she confides to Bryan that her husband canceled their holiday to China, leaving her heartbroken. Bryan suggests that Kim and Lenore join him in Istanbul, where he will be working for 3 days, after which he will have more time to spend with them. Meanwhile, Murad's henchmen bribe a corrupt officer to obtain Bryan's credentials. After completing his 3-day security job for a Saudi sheikh, Bryan is pleasantly surprised when Kim and Lenore arrive at his hotel in Istanbul. At the border, Murad bribes security officers to enter Turkey with his men. Bryan takes Kim on a night tour of Istanbul, giving them more time to connect as father and daughter. Meanwhile, Murad and his henchmen arrive in the city. At the hotel, Bryan is tracked by one of Murad's men, who reports back to him. Murad orders that Bryan and his family be taken alive. Wanting to give her parents more time to rekindle their broken relationship, Kim suggests staying behind at the hotel. While Bryan and Lenore are out, they are pursued by Murad's men. Bryan notices a black car following them and gives Lenore detailed instructions. She must exit the car in a crowded market, find a cab on another street, return to the hotel, get Kim, and report to hotel security. Then lock the door and not open it for anyone until he comes back. After Lenore gets out, Bryan takes control of the car, leading the pursuers away from Kim, all while trying to call Kim. The street chase for Bryan continues as he fights several henchmen with a metal bar, trying to cripple them. Meanwhile, Lenore fails to find the exit route and is captured. Bryan manages to call Kim, telling her that both he and her mother are surrounded and about to be taken. He instructs her to leave immediately, go to his room, and hide in the closet until he calls her back. Bryan then surrenders, and he and Lenore are masked and driven away. While in the van, Bryan memorizes every sound and landmark each place the vehicle passes. Meanwhile, Murad's henchmen arrive at the hotel in search of Kim. She runs up the staircase to her room, then escapes through the window into Bryan's room, where she hides in the closet as instructed. A gunfight breaks out when hotel security intervenes, leading to a violent confrontation with the attackers. Back at the warehouse, Bryan retrieves a small device hidden on his body and uses it to call Kim. He instructs her to go to the U.S. Embassy, telling her it's the only place she will be safe. However, Kim insists on helping them instead. After a brief silence, Bryan reluctantly agrees to give her a chance. He instructs her to take his weapons case from the closet and pull out a map. Following his guidance, Kim uses a shoelace to draw a 3-kilometer radius, along with several other circles, searching for points of intersection. Bryan instructs Kim to throw a live grenade out the window, listening carefully as the blast echoes in the distance while he counts the seconds. By measuring the time it takes for the sound to reach him, he determines his approximate location. He then tells her to take a gun and 2 more grenades and head east toward his position, moving across the rooftops. Using the back exit of the hotel, Kim manages to escape and takes a cab. Meanwhile, at the warehouse, Bryan is tortured and shown several photos, as his captors demand to know if he recognizes the men in them. It is then revealed that one of the men Bryan killed was Murad's son. Murad vows to take Bryan to the village of Tripoli, where the men he killed once lived, so their families can exact revenge.
Bryan insists that he killed the men because they had kidnapped his daughter. The terrorists then bring in Lenore, make a small incision in her neck, and hang her upside down to bleed out, forcing Bryan to watch helplessly as she is left with only 30 minutes to live. Upon learning that Kim has escaped his men, Murad sets out to hunt her down. As soon as they leave, Bryan manages to free himself and then releases Lenore. Meanwhile, Kim follows the map, running across the rooftops. She receives a call from Bryan and drops another grenade before continuing eastward. To signal his location, Bryan releases white steam through a chimney. Kim uses a vent and drops a gun down the chimney, which Bryan retrieves to eliminate the terrorists. Leaving Lenore behind for safety, he takes out more henchmen and rushes to save Kim, who is being chased across the rooftops. Bryan steals a taxi and returns to pick up Lenore, instructing Kim to drive to the American embassy if he does not return within 5 minutes. However, he discovers that Lenore has already been taken away through a tunnel. Bryan and Kim speed through the city in the stolen taxi, pursued by both Murad's men and the police, who have been alerted about the stolen vehicle. Under Bryan's guidance, Kim drives recklessly through the narrow streets as bullets fly around them. She cleverly maneuvers an SUV full of henchmen into the path of an oncoming train, which wipes them out. Kim manages to reach the U.S. Embassy, crashing through a military checkpoint to get inside. Bryan calls Sam for help and to call off the embassy security standoff. Having memorized the route the kidnappers used when they first transported him and Lenore to their safe house, Bryan retraces it and successfully returns to the same building. As Murad and his men prepare to torture Lenore, Bryan slips in, silently killing the guards before unleashing a rapid gunfire assault. Hearing the shots, Murad and some of his men escape through the back route, taking Lenore as a hostage. Bryan eliminates several more henchmen, forcing Murad to retreat and hide in the abandoned corridors. Bryan then faces Murad's right-hand bodyguard in a brutal hand-to-hand fight, exchanging chokes and heavy blows until he finally defeats him. Using a phone call, Bryan traces Murad's hiding place. After confirming with Murad that his 2 remaining sons will surely seek revenge if he is killed, Bryan offers him a chance to walk away, on the condition that he swears never to pursue vengeance again and leaves Bryan and his family in peace. Murad appears to agree, prompting Bryan to lower his guard and drop his gun. But when Bryan turns his back, Murad grabs the gun and tries to shoot Bryan, only to realize that Bryan has emptied the magazine. In a final attempt, Murad lunges at him, but Bryan slams him against a wall, impaling him on a towel hook and killing him instantly. Bryan then reunites with Lenore, assuring her that Kim is safe, bringing her a sigh of relief. Later, the story closes with Bryan accompanying Kim to her driving test, where this time she passes with perfect scores. 3 weeks later, while celebrating Kim's success at a cafe, Bryan, Lenore, and Kim are joined, much to Bryan's surprise, by Kim's boyfriend, Jamie. Kim jokingly tells Bryan not to shoot Jamie, since she really likes him, making everyone laugh. Thanks for watching.